Thank you so much for tuning in. Welcome to the Wealth Wednesday show, and we believe that you are doing well and in good health. Tonight, we're super excited to have an amazing guest with us, all the way from Zambia, Lusaka, and she will be sharing with us about lifestyle inflation and how to overcome it. We've seen in recent times, due to the pandemic, most people and many families have had to adjust their lifestyle either to go higher, to go down, depending on the income fluctuation. And we've seen some people not being able to recover that much. We must agree that lifestyle inflation is something we cannot assume not to have in our society. So tonight we're going to talk about that. And as always, my name is Sheila Mboga. I'm the founder of Financial Wellness Center. We encourage you to subscribe and turn on notification so that you can always be updated when we go live and have amazing guests like Miss Mwaba Ngenda, who is with us in the house. Now, without taking much of your time, I'm going to allow her to introduce herself to us. And as always, like, share the link, and start typing in your question. You can as well let us know where you're watching this live show from so that we can get to interact better. Miss Mwaba, feel welcome.
Thank you so much for having me, Sheila. I'm excited that we're having this conversation today. So I'll just give a very quick and brief introduction of who I am and what I do. So I am a Zambian-based personal finance educator, and formerly I am a banker and licensed investments professional here in Zambia. And informally, I'm very passionate about teaching personal finance education. And I truly believe that one of the most important skills that anybody can learn is how to manage their money. So I've done this work for, I think, the last 5 years now. I'm always happy to have these conversations. And along the way, I have won a few awards for my individual contribution to financial literacy education here in Zambia, which I am very, very proud of and grateful for, because it means that then there's like impact that's being made and lives that are being changed out of just sharing information from my social media pages. I've also taught at a few organizations here locally. So this is something that I really, really enjoy doing. So even when you reached out to me and said, let's do this, I was excited. And I hope we can keep having these conversations.
Absolutely. We will take the conversation forward because the aim is to impact as many people as possible globally. You know, we have 7 billion people. Now, one of my goals is if I can reach even to 2 billion people by the time I finish my lifetime here, then that would be something impactful because, we will have impacted generations, and definitely I cannot do that alone. We need people like you and, of course, our audience so that we can take the battle forward. Now, as we mentioned, our topic of discussion is overcoming lifestyle inflation. Now, Ms. Mwaba, in your own words, would you define what is lifestyle inflation?
Okay, so lifestyle inflation happens when your earnings increase, so your income increases, and you increase your spending proportionate or even more than what you are earning. So this happens because you want a more comfortable lifestyle. You can afford things that you couldn't afford before. So you feel like you have more money that you're spending. And also lifestyle inflation can trick you psychologically to feel like you are wealthier than you actually are, because you are earning a few more kwachas or dollars on top of what you were earning. So, but yes, you are earning more money. That doesn't mean you are wealthier, because wealth comes from building assets, and increasing your net worth as you build those assets. So lifestyle inflation, simply put, is you having to increase your spending when you increase your earnings or your income.
Wow, that is very profound, Miss Mwaba. And I'm just thinking, someone might be asking, so you've said it's me increasing my spending more than my income. And you mentioned sometimes it's more psychological. In your mind, you think I'm wealthy, I am driving the latest model, I am living in the latest neighborhood, I am dressing the latest fashion. So I think I am wealthy. Now, what are
Yeah.
the causes of lifestyle inflation?
So lifestyle inflation, I think, is mainly caused by you wanting to reward yourself more than you should. I don't want to use the word deserve. So I feel like you are needing to reward yourself more than you should, because I mean you've put in the hard work, you've gotten a new job or a salary raise. It means that you are doing something right for yourself. It's a blessing. You should be happy about that, and you should celebrate that win that you have. But then, because you feel that way, you begin to start spending a bit more money than you should, um,
Yes.
because you have a new income that's coming in. So another cause also, aside from you needing to reward yourself more than you should, is keeping up with the Joneses. I think this happens everywhere, where you want to look at your neighbor, your cousin, your peers,
Mm-hmm.
and see how well they are doing according to you, and then you want to copy and paste that lifestyle. So that also comes with consequences. It means that you are blind to what, first of all, to who you are as a human being and where you are going, what your goals are. That's what I mean by where you are going, because you're copying and pasting what other people are doing. So that would tend to put pressure on you, and this is not good pressure. So when you have bad pressure, you begin to spend more money than you should, because you're trying to keep up with what the next person or what the other people are doing. So I think those are the two major causes of lifestyle inflation.
Wow, that is so profound, Miss Mwaba. And I think you mentioned something, trying to keep up with the Joneses, your neighbor, your friends, your cousin, and thinking like, wow, they need to see me looking like this so that they know I'm not just surviving life. And
Yes.
it's something that has affected a lot of us in this generation,
Yeah.
because sometimes the person just have a better phone with a good camera, and you think they are doing well.
Yes, and you think they're doing well, but maybe they're also fighting the lifestyle inflation you should be avoiding. Maybe they're fighting to get out of debt, because that's how they are financing those things that you see that look so good on their Instagram, on their social media. So I feel like it's sad and it's hard to get out of, because that takes a lot of self-awareness and self-assurance, and to also
Mm.
be confident of who you are and where you're going and the steps you are taking to get to where you're going. So copying and pasting, no, you don't know what goes on in their bank accounts. So
Of course, yeah. I always tend to say, if people could see the behind the scene before a movie has been released, they wouldn't take themselves into so much pressure, because you just don't know what happens behind the scene. And there is
yeah,
something you mentioned. We people sometimes lifestyle inflation is caused by over spoiling yourself.
yeah,
We love to YOLO. You only live once. You've worked hard. You've gotten
yeah,
that promotion. Now, they say too much of something is poison. So I think
yeah,
this is the thing that falls in and comes out as lifestyle inflation, because yes, I want to spoil myself, but how far is too far? you know how far is too far when it comes to
yeah.
spending on myself? Maybe you could again demystify on that. How far is too far when it comes to spoiling yourself so that you don't get into lifestyle inflation?
Okay, and that's a very good question. And honestly, I feel like everyone at some point we've asked ourselves this question: am I going too far? Am I taking this too far? Am I spending too much? But the answer, to be honest, is very simple. What are your earnings? What do you earn? Can you afford to do it? And also, what I mean by this is not just answering to say, this is I earn $3,000 a month. Every 4 weeks, this is what I'm getting. I'll have an income even after I spend this all. It's about also thinking about the future cost of your current habits. So if you have a habit of over spoiling yourself, you want a new handbag, new shoes, new phone. Whenever there's a new phone released, you want it. What is the future cost of you spending like that? I think that's a very key question to ask yourself. So there's always a give and take. You know, if today you decide to buy a latest phone or a latest car model, what's the cost of that? What's the implication to that of that to your future? So just really look at yourself and realistically say, this is how much I earn. Yes, I'm happy. I have scored a win for myself. I have a salary raise, or I have a new job and I'm earning better. I have done well for myself, for my business and my career. And there's absolutely no shame in doing what you've done. But then come back to the drawing board, sit down with yourself, take notes. How much am I earning more? You know, okay, I'm earning 3,000 kwachas more. What can this buy me? You know, sometimes the jump with lifestyle inflation is not even big. It's just that psychological effect that's in your mind to say you're earning more now or you have more money. So just sit down with yourself. I always love speaking about budgeting, you know, because that's you ensuring that you are directing your money meaningfully. You are spending intentionally. Even if you want to spoil yourself with your holiday, should you do it all at once? Or should you start up a fund, a saving fund towards that goal so that you can go and celebrate your win? Or if you're doing a one-off big spend on yourself, are you doing it all at once? What is the future implication to that? So really, how far do you go? How much do you earn? What can you afford realistically? Simple as
Wow.
that.
I love where this conversation is going, and just hold on to that. I'm gonna pick out some people. I can see Chisanga Mukosa. He or she is saying he or she is watching from Zambia. Thank you so much, Chisanga, for tuning in. As well as there is a question: how do you balance the need to spoil yourself and avoiding lifestyle inflation? It's a very thin line. Would you take it out? Take it out?
And it is, to be honest, I'm going to give a personal story on this one. So I had a job, well-paying job, and I got a better paying job. And that is when I really felt the reality of lifestyle inflation. Because the moment I signed that new contract and I got that offer, I began to feel there's just a certain new confidence that you feel when you know you scored a big win. And
Yeah.
I thought, wow, this is my chance.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you just feel buzzed up and confident, you know. And I said, this is my chance to change my car or to upgrade my car. I was already driving a perfectly good car and I was happy with the brand of the car. There was nothing wrong with it. But I said, I can finally afford a new and better car. So I went ahead and bought that car. I could afford it. But then what that did to my mind is I started feeling like I could continue buying other things and getting myself all these new things, you know. I had all these other plans. So I had to take myself back and sit down and assess. So from job A that you've moved from, you were earning X amount of money. To job B, you are now earning X amount of money. What is the difference? You know? So when I sat down with myself to note the difference, that's what brought me back to reality. I stopped feeling like a millionaire or a billionaire, you know, because now I took note of what my difference was. So really, you need to be very intentional about being aware of yourself and your spending patterns, about being aware of your triggers. If you've been looking at a car for a very long time, like I had been doing, so you know that the moment you get extra cash, the first thing you're thinking of is upgrading your car or buying a new one. So just be a bit more aware, bring yourself back. Whenever you get a raise, calculate, just do the math and write down the numbers. I feel like when you write it down, it's sort of a slap to you to bring you back to reality. So write it down and assess realistically How much can I afford to take out to celebrate or spoil myself? And also, how often should you spoil yourself? I think that's also a big one. Can you afford to do that every month, every week, every quarter? Personally, I can afford, and I have assessed that I can go on holiday twice a year. So I already know the months are fixed. So I already know that that's a future goal. So I already plan and save towards those things. It's no longer a surprise for me. It's no longer a hype thing for me to do, to just go on holiday because I've seen very nice pictures on social media. No, it's something I actually plan towards. I will map out where I want to go. I'll find out how much it will cost me, how many days I can afford to live there or stay there, and I'll work towards it. So also figure out comfortable timelines and realistic timelines of how often you should get down to rewarding yourself.
Absolutely. And I really love your little story whereby when our income increases for some reason, um, sometimes you can find you become a millionaire in your mind, but the reality is you are not a millionaire. It's only in your mind. I know we advocate for the change in mindset, and we always say it's the mindset before the asset. But don't make the mindset go before you and take over your spending, while in real sense, you cannot really afford that. And you also mentioned people need to know how many times am I spoiling myself. You know, some people every day they are spoiling themselves, and you're like, wow, you cannot be doing this every day. There has to be like a ceiling you put yourself, because you know, I always say spending is like an addiction. um
Okay.
if you do it correctly, it's gonna work for you very well. But if you are not careful about it, it's going to get out of hands. And that leads me to, my next question is, what is the true cost of lifestyle inflation in your own perspective as a financial consultant?
If you can't manage your spending, and if you let your spending exceed your income, or even if you're just in a constant cycle, where you earn more money, you increase your spending, even if you're affording to live the way you're living, but it's a cycle, you can't do anything else aside from manage your living expenses. You can't invest, you can't save. All those are the implications of allowing lifestyle inflation to get out of hand. So it does not mean that you should not improve your lifestyle. I mean, that's why we work, that's why we save, why we invest. But also, you should not increase your lifestyle or your spending too quickly. It needs to be gradual. So the implications are that you are slowing yourself down, you're putting yourself far back ahead with meaningful goals such as a comfortable retirement, your children's education or your own education to go further in your career, you having to own assets, investments or properties. You cannot do that comfortably, or you can't do that at all if you keep spending more than you are earning, or just keeping up your life, in short, or keeping up appearances, just so you can look a certain way because you're a banker. Perception in society is you should look and drive a certain car, things like that. So you set yourself far back. I think that's the biggest implication. It's very difficult for you to plan for meaningful things, to do meaningful things with your money. I always say, do and achieve what matters most. If tomorrow was your last day on God's green earth, would you be happy with how far you've come? Those are the things you think of, because when you ask yourself that question, it brings you back to reality. You now start pointing out, oh, I do not have insurance. Oh, I do not have this. I haven't set this in place for my children if you're a parent, so all those things. Like I mentioned earlier, there's always a future cost of today's spending. And
Mm-hmm.
time is of the essence when it comes to money, there's a
Mm-hmm.
misconception that says, you need money to invest more, you need more money or X amounts of money to invest and do meaningful things. You're always
Mm-hmm.
waiting until I start earning this much, then I'll buy property or invest or I will save. But the truth of the matter is that you need some money and time.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're
Mm-hmm.
wasting your time with lifestyle inflation,
Mm-hmm.
I can't stress this enough, to be honest. Really, just think about your future and let your actions speak to who you want to be. So ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself, what is the vision you have of yourself in the next 2 years, 3 years, 5 years? Who
Mm-hmm.
is the person you are? Who are you in those years, And how do
Mm-hmm.
you need to get there? And then begin to work backwards. Yeah.
I actually, when you mentioned, a lot of people tend to get carried away with this lifestyle inflation at the cost of their future. There's something that I always say: do not wear your tomorrow's clothes today. How do you wear your tomorrow's clothes today? You're taking a loan
Yeah.
to finance your lifestyle, which is consumption, and then
Yeah.
tomorrow you will be struggling to repay a debt with interest, and you are not able to account for it. So I love what you said, and I see Zaliwe Daka. He or she is saying she's watching, or he's watching from Lusaka, Zambia, and she's excited to be with us. I also see we have Edna Hara, millionaire in your mind, absolutely, and that is actually this millionaire in the mind. I think also this idea of money affirmations has brought this. People thinking in their mind, I have too much money. And sometimes it can become so intense in your mind. It's good to visualize, but don't overdo it such that the actions that you're doing, they're not leading you towards becoming a millionaire, but you are acting like you're one on the negative side. So of course, you've really stressed on the future cost of your today's spending, which is very, very important for us to consider. And another thing is time.
Mm,
We always think like, until I get money, that's when I'll start to invest. That's when I'll start to make my money work for me. But the wealthy people generally, they invest in time more than money.
yeah.
So you find someone thinking like, okay, let me take advantage of this investment tool now, then wait. But most people,
Mm,
what they do is wait, then buy, instead of buy, then wait. So
wait.
you
Yeah.
find they're not taking advantage of the time factor. And
And
now
time passes anywhere. So whether you,
yeah.
you start today and wait for
Mm-hmm.
5 years to make progress,
Mm-hmm.
the 5 years will still pass. So you might as
Mm-hmm.
well start today. You might
Yeah.
as well start working towards those meaningful things. Because if you are 25 today, one day you will be 30.
Mm-hmm.
If your child is in the first grade today, one day they will
Mm-hmm.
finish high school, and it will be time for them to go to 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 university or college. So what's your plan? Time will pass anyway.
Absolutely. And someone said, time waits for no man. Whether you are waiting, but it will continue to run and pass. Now, this leads me to, today's main agenda, or the main thing. How does
Mhm.
one get to combat lifestyle inflation? Now that we've defined what it is, the causes, the cost, how can one overcome lifestyle inflation or avoid it?
Okay. So the first thing is, I think, what we've extensively spoken about so far,
Mhm,
which is
mhm,
being aware of yourself. You know, there is
mhm,
power in knowing where you are financially, and
mhm,
also where you're trying to be, and even where you
mhm,
don't want to be, especially if you've been caught up in a very yes, you've been caught up in a very terrible situation before. Maybe you were in debt, or you did not have a job and you had no
mm,
money to sustain yourself. Your business wasn't going well. You definitely
mm,
do not want to find yourself in such places again. So your
mm,
spending today should speak to those things. Be aware of yourself. If you once, even just now, I mean, in the times of COVID-19, many
mm,
people have either had their income cut, or have lost it
mm,
completely. And they've been
mm,
found in places where they wished they had emergency funds or investments they
mm,
could fall back on, or they
mm,
wish they had more than one stream of income. So when you pick
mm,
on such lessons, they
mm,
they add on to your self-awareness. And also, when you're
mm,
aware of where you are now, you understand your income, so you
mm,
understand the boundaries within which you should
mm,
work in, rather. So be
mm,
very aware of how you are spending. If you're new to
mm,
this, start by just tracking what you spend your day-to-day money on. Write that down
mm,
for 30 days, and this will reveal a pattern. It will tell
mm,
a story about you and what you consider priorities. You may be saying
mm,
retirement, or early retirement is a priority for you, but nothing from
mm,
your income is going towards a retirement fund. You may be
mm,
saying your children are important to you and their education is priority, but nothing from your earnings is going towards that. So be
mm,
very self-aware and of your spending
mm,
choices. That's number one. The second way
mm,
is to elevate or improve your lifestyle gradually. Like I have
mm,
already mentioned, I'll give an example of myself. I started my
mm,
career, I think, in financial services, that is, I think, well, close to 7 or 6 years now, and
mm,
I've built myself solid, from ground up. I've had to work, to do training, to do ABCD. So I'm very proud of how far I have come, and I'm happy that the strategies I put in place have led me to this place today, and probably further from where I am today. But that
mm,
doesn't mean because my earnings have been increasing over the years, I should live now, YOLO. I only live once. No, that just brings
mm,
more responsibility for me to manage what I have better, to ensure that
mm,
I continue going on that growth plan, or and that
mm,
growth trajectory. So it's
mm,
responsibility towards my earnings, responsibility towards my goals. They are mine. So I should take them
mm,
personally and be responsible for them. So improve your
mm,
lifestyle gradually. Set milestones
mm,
for yourself. In 1 year, I should buy this, or I should acquire this asset, or I should move to a
mm,
new neighborhood. And how I'll do
mm,
this is that I'll set aside X amount of money, or in this
mm,
month my income will go towards my moving. You do it
mm.
gradually, and you are planning towards it, so that it does not
Yeah.
work to your detriment. And the
Mhm,
third and final step that I can give is, whenever you get excess income,
mhm,
try as much as possible to avoid keeping it accessible, or
mhm,
in cash somewhere where you can easily go
mhm,
to a mall and swipe, or easily make a decision
mhm,
to get on a plane and fly out
mhm,
for a holiday. So whenever you
mhm,
are not sure of what to do with excess funds, even if it's
mhm,
sitting in a savings account,
mhm,
it's in
mhm,
an investment account, you've done something
mhm,
with your money while they're still thinking about what you want to do. So avoid
mhm,
having excess cash and extra money. Automate it if you
mhm,
have to, so that there isn't much interaction with you. You do not have to, be very hard on yourself to ensure that you move the money from your current account to your savings or your investment account. So avoid excess cash. So I'll give those 3 tips on how to manage lifestyle inflation.
Absolutely. And I like the fact that you've said when you have excess funds, it's good to keep them somewhere that you cannot easily access, but at least you're just earning, even if it's 2% of an interest. Now, most of us or most people, immediately they get excess funds, whether it's from salary, from business, or just somebody decides to gift them. You know what we do? That's the time you remember, I never did my 20th birthday. And you're 40. So you want to, you say, I have to do it now. That's when you remember, oh, I always wanted to do this, but I never had that chance. So let me do it now. I think it's good we start embracing, just because you have an excess amount of money, it doesn't mean you have to spend it at that time. You can keep it and keep it and grow it so that you can even enjoy having more excess fund. Now, you mentioned earlier that you've been a banker for quite a number of years, and I believe in your line of work you've seen how inflation affects wealth. And we've already highlighted one key factor for wealth generation is time. So how does inflation, lifestyle inflation, affect wealth creation?
Okay. So, as I mentioned earlier, there's implications to your spending. So, if you're not spending meaningfully or intentionally, you are you're causing detriment to yourself as you create wealth. Because remember, the money that you earn today, tomorrow, next month, is the money that you must be using to create wealth. So you will not accidentally, get into money. Or maybe most of us, I think, we are not waiting for a rich uncle to call us and say, oh, there's this fund that was that was left for you and in your name, or you will not win a lottery. So many of
Mm-hmm.
us will build wealth using the money that we have. Those are the things that's the thing that is supposed to work for you in the future. So if you are increasing your lifestyle too quickly, you're elevating yourself too quickly, it becomes almost impossible for you to generate meaningful wealth for yourself or for your family. That is a very important thing to think about and to understand. So the same money you're earning now is what will go towards your savings or your investing. So be very careful. This is why being self-aware is important. And maybe also one other thing I can add on is financial education is important. You don't know what you don't know. You can't make informed decisions if you're not educated on the subject matter. Know where to reach out for help. If you feel like you're failing to make a money decision, there's resources out there now, and it's amazing. It's a great time for us to be alive, to be honest. You can simply
Yeah.
go onto the internet and find different forms of advice and different forms of tips on how to manage your money. So the money you're managing now, whatever it is, that's what you should be looking at as your resource now to build wealth for the future. That's why spending and being aware of your spending is very, very important.
I totally agree with you, Miss Mwaba. And we need to really be self-aware, because all the things that we are speaking right now, they fall back to self-awareness. Now, if you're not able to be aware of yourself, then it will be very hard for you to even manage something else like money. And money is a tool that can help or
Yeah.
hurt you. Now I see Chisanga is saying, will there be a recorded session to watch later? Absolutely. We shall have this live session will still be here on our YouTube channel later on. So if you are not able to tune in right now due to network problems. You can watch later on. As well as I want to thank our audience for staying with us this far. We really appreciate your presence. Thank you so much for your comments. You are making the live session to be more lively. Now, we are almost coming to the end of this show, and this is the time. If you have any question regarding lifestyle, inflation, or anything about money, you can feel free to write in the chat box. Or if you just have any comment that you'd like to address or would want us to address, just post it in the comment section and we shall get to talk about it as we wind up. Now, Miss Mwaba, we've seen debt becoming like a menace in our generation. Now, I'm not saying before there wasn't debt, but right now it has been on the rise. Countries being on huge debt, people being on
Yeah.
huge debt. And it's like a balloon that has just been blown and it's now so big. Now, what's your opinion between um lifestyle and debt? What is their correlation?
Okay, for me, really, it's just a simple statement, but if you
Mhm,
look at it on its core, it's very important. Do not use debt to fund your lifestyle.
mhm,
That is a very big problem. It
mhm,
causes more problems because, for instance, you are earning money, you want to buy a car, and you
mhm,
get into debt because you feel at that point you can afford to take on debt or a car loan, and
mhm,
you get into debt and buy the car. The
mhm,
amount, your repayment amount for that loan is taken off of your current earnings. And if you
mhm,
don't manage it well, debt
mhm,
becomes sort of part of you. It becomes a bad habit that you keep on. You'll continue
mhm,
getting into debt, even for small things. I always give this
mhm,
example on my lives. Here in
mhm,
Zambia, Sheila, people get things like rice and say, I'll pay you at the end of the month. Chickens,
mhm,
I'll pay
mhm,
at the end of the month. There's always an
mhm,
excuse of I'm supporting somebody's business. My workmate, my friend is selling chickens.
mhm,
But that's how
mhm,
the habit creeps in. You know what I mean?
mhm,
Debt for
mhm,
consumption is bad. Debt to
mhm,
fund your lifestyle is bad. In an
mhm,
ideal world, debt
mhm,
should be used to create wealth for you, and those
mhm,
assets that you are creating with your debt should at least
mhm,
be able to pay off the debt you are taking on, so you're
mhm,
increasing your net worth by acquiring debt because you're using it
mhm,
to purchase an asset or to do something meaningful with it.
yeah.
But if you're
Mhm,
using debt for something like a car has
mhm,
market value. You can resell the car if you drive it for a year, 2 years, but it's a
mhm,
depreciating asset. So
yeah.
it loses that market value as you go forward. So those are some
Mhm,
of the things you want to consider. Do
mhm,
not be pressed, to be pressed to get into debt to fund your lifestyle. Whenever you're considering getting into debt, ask yourself some questions. Why do I feel like I need extra money to buy this? Can it wait? Can I save for it? And another thing
mhm,
is that we're also living in a microwave society, a society that really appreciates instant gratification as opposed to
mhm,
delayed gratification. So we also need
mhm,
to be able to practice delayed gratification. Where
mhm,
okay, I have to work 10 months in order to buy a
mhm,
new car. And you're happy to
mhm,
do it. You're focused
yeah.
and you're determined to do it, because you can
Mhm,
now afford to buy a car. As opposed to you
mhm,
thinking, 10 months, that's a long time. I can access a loan quickly, so let me just buy the car. I will finish paying off the loan in 5 years. So really,
10
I
months
think
to
that's the
compare to
correlation.
5 years.
Do not take on yes, do not take on debt to fund your lifestyle. Rather, build investments to fund your lifestyle. If you want to
Mm,
travel often, you want to
mhm,
you don't want Mwaba to make noise about you buying a car. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
invest and start making your investments fund a lifestyle. That's a better way to do it.
Absolutely. And we are in a society where we want to look sharp, sharp, quickly, quickly. I need a car. Tomorrow I'm
Yeah.
having it. And I like the fact that you said, would you rather save for 10 months and get it without taking a debt, or have it now and be in prison for 5 years? Which one makes sense? You better wait for 10 months.
Yeah.
Nobody will come and tell you, you're very late. Actually, when it comes to financial journey, there is no champion.
Yeah.
It's not like Olympics. You have to run, the first one
No.
gets a medal. Your financial journey is yours alone. There is nothing like, oh, you got here the first one, so
Absolutely.
this is your medal. No, it's yours, and you have to make it enjoyable, and you cannot make it enjoyable when you're trying to
Yeah. It's
please
personal.
people. It's very personal, and
Yeah.
sometimes the people we are trying to please, they don't even look at us. They're not even aware, or the person you're
They
trying to
don't
match.
even care. Yes.
Yeah, and even the person you're trying to match up with, maybe you've seen a person who is living out on their investment funds or in excess or profit. You want to match up with them and get the same car, but you don't know how they got it. Maybe they got it from the profits they got from their business or investment. Then you are here rushing yourself, taking a debt just because I'm driving this and this, like ABCD, and they'll never maybe know you even in your lifetime. Anyway,
And also,
that
maybe
brings us.
before we move on,
Yes.
maybe also to add on to young people, young
Mm-hmm.
professionals, young business people,
Mm-hmm.
we have a tendency to compare ourselves to people that have started their journey even before we were born. So you
Mm-hmm.
want to match up to somebody that's been working towards that goal for years, and you want to acquire it now or in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever you look at someone next to you, just
Mm-hmm.
try and imagine the work they've put in. Look at how far they've come. We to be
Mm-hmm.
honest, we all do not know the full circumstances of the next person to the detail. All that we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing is this. Mwaba is on this
Mm-hmm.
live with Sheila.
Mm-hmm.
You don't know the
Mm-hmm.
detail. That's why personal
Mm-hmm.
finance is personal. Do not compare or try and compete with people that you do not even understand. It doesn't
Mm-hmm.
make sense. Yeah.
Absolutely. Personal finance is personal. Anyway, this brings us to our towards the end of the live. I'll just read some few comments here. I see Zaliwe says self-awareness is cardinal. Absolutely. Watching from Ndola, Zambia. Thank you so much. This is very insightful. Thank you so much, Edna, for your support and being here with us. We believe you have learned a lot, as we have also learned from one another, and I'm so happy that we are impacting lives out there. Now, as we come to the end of this live session, Miss Mwaba, what is your favorite money quote, and which money principle do you believe people should always have it like their go-to?
Yeah. Okay. On the money quote, I have quite a number, but the one that has come to mind right now is when you save, you own,
Mhm,
and when
mhm,
you borrow, you owe. So I feel like that also takes a mindset shift and it brings you to reality. So when you're saving or you're investing, those are your things, those are your assets, it's your money.
mhm,
But then when you
mhm,
borrow, you are owing, you need to pay back. I really, really love that short sentence. And when it
mhm,
comes to a principle, that's my favorite, is never let your spending exceed
mhm,
your earnings. So this is a
mhm,
short line and it's a principle that has been taught for centuries,
mhm,
but it's deep. It speaks to you managing your income, making sure that you are spending less than you are earning, it speaks to you to, whenever your income is more than your spending, you are able to invest, you are able to save. So it's a very simple principle, but it ties into to a lot of things. I really love it.
I love the first quote that you mentioned. When you save, you own. When you borrow, you owe. And
Yeah.
this goes in line with a penny saved is a penny earned. So when you are saving, you are accumulating towards yourself. But when you are operating under debt, especially debt for consumption, you are taking away from yourself. And who wants to take away from themselves? You can't be that selfish even to yourself. Anyway, I believe our audience has learned a lot from this live session. And if you are out there, you are struggling with lifestyle inflation, you are struggling to keep up with your lifestyle, remember that your personal finance journey is personal. We might shout here, we might insist here, but until you get the concept that there is no trophy in my personal finance journey, it's very personal, then you
Yeah.
will not be able to really enjoy yourself with what you have. And something that I have taken home is delayed gratification. It's something we need to drum it in our mind that I can still have it. The thing is, I just need to wait. And
Yeah.
nobody died because of waiting, but people have died because
Absolutely.
of debt and getting stressed because of debt. So they refuse to
Yeah.
wait, they rush it, then they start getting ulcers or high blood pressure, then they're gonna die. But if they could
Yeah.
wait and take it slow, then they would get to enjoy that. So your final words, Miss Mwaba, as we close the live session.
My final words are just thank you so much, Sheila, for having me today. I've enjoyed this conversation. And also thank you to everybody that has joined us. Thank you, Edna Chisanga from here in Zambia for joining in, and everybody else who's been with us on the live. I truly appreciate it. And really, let's keep the money conversations going. Education is very important. Financial literacy education is important. You don't know what you don't know. And obviously, you act better and do better with your finances when you are, you have a better understanding and you're educated on the issues.
Absolutely. And how can people reach out to you in case someone has a question or they just want to check you out and follow this amazing wisdom that you've shared with us?
Okay, so I am very active on my social media pages. So it's
Mm-hmm.
Mwaba Ngenda on Facebook. I blog a lot on Facebook. You'll find resources from the time I started the page on there. I am also
Mm-hmm.
on Instagram, Mwaba.ngenda as well. And on
Mm-hmm.
LinkedIn, Mwaba Ngenda on LinkedIn as well. And I'm trying to get onto Twitter. So
Mm-hmm.
everywhere you
Mm-hmm.
will find me, Mwaba Ngenda. You can reach out to me, engage with me. And yeah, let's keep
Mm-hmm.
the money conversations going.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for giving us your time to be with us here. We really appreciate you. And thank you so much to everyone that has supported us all the way from Zambia, from United Arab Emirates, from Kenya, and around the world just by watching this show. We appreciate you and thank you so much. So we encourage you to subscribe to the channel. Click the subscribe button below there. Turn on notification. Most of all, watch our videos, learn, put them into action, and don't benefit alone. Share it out to your friends, to your clan, to your family, and let us become financially literate. Until then, take care, and we'll see you next time. Thank you so much.